I only bought the box fan, so I couldn't hear the noises. It ended up proving I wasn't imagining them. The apartment was a half-basement, half-dungeon type deal, the kind you take when you're broke and tired of roommates. Brick building, laundry room down the hall, one tiny window level with the sidewalk, so all I saw were ankles and dog piss. I told myself it was cozy when I signed the lease. Really, it just felt like a storage unit they threw a mattress into. First night there, I lay on the futon staring at the exposed pipes and listening to the building settle. Around midnight, I heard footsteps overhead. Normal. Someone in the apartment above, walking to the kitchen, crossing the living room, whatever. But then, maybe 10 minutes later, I heard them under me. That shouldn't have been possible. Slow scraping, like someone dragged fingers along concrete directly under my bed. Not loud, not dramatic, just this dry, deliberate friction that ran across the floor and stopped right under my chest. I froze. I held my breath, so long my lungs burned. Then I laughed out loud just to break the tension and said, "Pipes. Old building." Even though it didn't sound like pipes and definitely didn't sound old. It sounded like someone who knew I was listening and wanted to see what I'd do. Next morning, my keys weren't on the hook by the door. I always hang them there. I'm obsessive about it because I've locked myself out before. They sat on the counter by the sink instead, neatly placed, not dropped. I stared at them for a full minute, trying to remember if I'd done it half asleep. I decided, yeah, sure, I must have. New place, new habits, whatever. Then it kept happening. My phone charger lay coiled on the floor instead of plugged in beside my bed. My deodorant turned, so the label faced backward. The bathroom light switch flipped down when I knew I'd left it up. Nothing huge, nothing call the cops level, just wrong. Just enough to make me sound crazy if I complained. After a few days of that, I stopped trusting my own memory. I took pictures before work, keys on hook, charger in wall, shoes by the door, just so I could check later. I'd come back and something would be off by an inch or two, and I'd scroll through my phone and feel my stomach drop because the photos proved it. I wanted so badly to catch myself in a mistake, and I couldn't. Sleep went to shit fast. Every time I started to drift, I'd hear the soft click of my bathroom door nudging its frame, like someone pushed it with the back of their hand and let it swing almost shut. I'd get up, flick on the light, stare into that tiny bathroom like it owed me an explanation. Nothing. I tried wedging a towel under the door. It still clicked. I tried telling myself it was air pressure from the vents. I don't even know if that's a real thing or some bullshit I made up to calm down. By day 5, my eyes felt like sandpaper. I'd sit at my desk at work, jump whenever someone walked behind me, mainline coffee, and lie to people when they asked if I liked the new place. I kept saying, yeah, it's fine, just noisy, while my brain replayed that scraping under the floor. I bought the box fan after I snapped at my manager over nothing and realized I couldn't keep going like that. I went to the cheapest store I could find, grabbed the loudest plastic piece of crap they had, and lugged it home like it was medicine. I set it at the foot of the bed, pointed it at my face, and cranked it to max. The blades roared, filled every gap in the air. The noises faded behind that steady rush. For the first time all week, I slept more than 3 hours in a row. Of course, my brain found a way to ruin that too. I woke up at 3 a.m. convinced I'd heard something under the fan, like a voice trying to push through static, but when I sat up, the only thing I heard was wind and my own pulse in my ears. I started blasting white noise every night anyway, because apparently I hate myself quiet. Silence meant I might hear something real. Noise meant I could pretend it was all in my head. One afternoon, I left in a rush and forgot to turn the fan off. I remember because I looked at it, thought I should turn that, and then my phone buzzed with a text from my boss asking where a file was. I grabbed my bag, swore, and ran out. I locked the door, tugged the handle twice, checked my keys. No hesitation. No, maybe I didn't. I know I left that fan roaring. When I came back, the apartment felt off. I know how that sounds, but it's the only way to put it. The air felt heavier and colder, like somebody had opened a window I didn't have. The faint smell of my detergent was mixed with something else, stale sweat, maybe, or somebody else's shampoo. I dropped my bag and stood there listening. The fan didn't run. The silence sat on my eardrums like a weight. My bedspread had a new wrinkle near the pillow, a deep dent like a knee or a hand had sunk there and stayed a while. The rest of the blanket lay perfectly flat. It was the kind of mark you don't get from tossing a bag or bumping into it. It looked like someone knelt on my bed and leaned in. I walked around it like it was a body. I checked the fan-out habit. The timer dial sat exactly between numbers, balanced in that tiny dead zone. I never used the timer. I always twist it to on until it hits the stop. That's my thing, all or nothing. Seeing it there, in between, felt like seeing my own handwriting in the wrong color pen. Something in my brain snapped into place. All the little wrong things lined up. The keys, the charger, the door clicks, my sudden forgetfulness. I wasn't clumsy. I wasn't tired. Someone was fucking with me. I went upstairs to the landlord's office and told her my fan broke and kept shutting off. I acted casual, like I just wanted maintenance to check the outlet. I asked if maybe the power down there was glitchy or tied to some timer. My voice shook. I tried to hide it behind a fake laugh. She frowned, tapped something on her computer, and said, "Nobody should be in your unit during the day. The only key is at the front desk." Then she stopped, looked at me a little too long, and added, very slowly, "At least it should be." We walked to the front desk together. The key box hung behind the receptionist, rows of little numbered tags on hooks. The girl at the desk stepped aside like she wanted no part of whatever was about to happen. My landlord ran her finger along the row, calling out apartment numbers under her breath. When she got to mine, her hand just stopped. My tag slot was empty. I felt my knees go weak like in a cliche, but it actually happens. She turned to the receptionist and snapped, "Who had key 3B?" The girl stammered something useless about never touching the keys. They argued in front of me, throwing blame back and forth, while the only thing I could hear was that scraping under my bed and the soft click of my bathroom door. They pulled up the security footage from the hall outside my unit. Tiny back office, stale coffee smell, old monitor. My landlord scrubbed through the morning. There I was, leaving in a hurry, bag on my shoulder, fan roaring in my memory. 15 minutes later, a man in a dark hoodie walked into frame. Hood up, head down like he knew exactly where the camera was and how to give it nothing. He went straight to my door. No hesitation, no fumbling, no tools. Hands in his pockets, casual as hell. The door opened. He slipped inside like he'd done it 100 times. He stayed 20 minutes. We watched the timestamp crawl. I tried to imagine what he did in there while the numbers rolled forward. Standing in the middle of my living room, sniffing the air, touching my dishes, sitting on my bed with his knee by my pillow, leaning close enough to see the loose strands of my hair. At one point, my landlord hit pause and said, "He never comes out with anything." Like that was supposed to make me feel better. He never took anything. That was the worst part. Every time he came, and there were other clips, different days, different times, he just turned the fan off and moved one or two things by inches. Walked with his hands in his pockets, shoulders loose, utterly at home. Like he wanted to feel how close he could get without waking me when I slept there. Like the missing loot was the point. I was the thing he collected. The cops showed up, watched the same footage, and shrugged. They changed my locks, took a statement, and gave me the usual lines. "We'll keep an eye on it. Could be a former employee. He hasn't hurt you." One of them actually said, "It's more creepy than dangerous," like that was supposed to calm me down. I wanted to scream at him that someone kneeling on your bed while you drool on the pillow is pretty fucking dangerous. I moved anyway. I packed everything in one night, tossing clothes into trash bags, yanking art off the walls so hard the frames cracked. Every sound made me jump. Pipes, footsteps, a car door outside. I kept imagining a key sliding into the lock. I just watched them change. The fan shutting off downstairs while I stood upstairs arguing about my deposit. Now I'm somewhere else. Higher floor, more windows, more light. Doesn't matter. I don't own a box fan anymore. I don't play white noise. I'll lie there and listen to every creak, every car, every neighbor's toilet flush. I catalog each sound, name it, track it, Because I learned the hard way. Silence isn't safe, but neither is pretending you can't hear what's already in the room. The attendant knew I was alone before I said a word. He slid my card, stared at the screen, then at me. "Pump 3, he said, but his eyes stayed on the rear window of my hatchback like he expected it to blink. That stuck with me more than anything at first. Not what he said, but that stare like he was counting heads and came up short. I laughed it off in my head, creepy gas station guy, middle of nowhere, whatever, but my stomach tightened anyway. The place sat in the middle of nowhere. One pump bagged, the other barely alive. Lights inside too bright, outside too dark. Bug zapper sang outside, chewing through moths. My tank hovered near empty, idiot light glowing, so I swallowed the bad feeling and started the pump. The handle was slick cold, like too many hands had squeezed it too hard. I kept one eye on the pump numbers, one on the glass door. Attendant moved like someone who didn't want to be there, but also didn't want to be outside. That kind of trapped. I told myself to quit being dramatic. Then the minivan pulled in. No rush, no screech, just eased in and parked at the far edge of the lot, right where the building cut off the camera. You could tell it wasn't an accident, that angle. Headlights clicked off. Engine kept idling. Tinted windows, the cheap kind that bubble. No one got out. For a solid 30 seconds, I tried to convince myself I hadn't noticed it. I focused on the pump, on my breathing, on anything. But my skin buzzed. That van sat there like a hell breath. I kept waiting for someone to open the door, yell for gas, something normal. Nothing, just the engine. I went back inside to grab water I didn't need, just to see if anyone else had noticed, and also because being out there with my back to that thing felt fucking stupid. The bell above the door chimed. Attendant's head snapped up like he'd been halfway asleep. His eyes went past me to the lot, checked my car, then flicked away from the far corner on purpose. That's what scared me. He avoided looking at it. He jerked his chin toward the cooler. Didn't ask how I was, didn't make small talk. I walked slow, pretending to browse, watching him in the reflection of the glass doors. His hands shook just enough to notice. When I got to the counter, he spoke low, eyes fixed on the register like it might explode. "Cash out and leave," he said. "Don't stop at the stop sign. Don't look if they flash you." It hit my brain like nonsense at first. I actually laughed and asked what the hell he meant, because what else do you do with that? He flinched like I'd raised my voice. Jaw clenched. For a second, he met my eyes, and I saw it. Flat-out fear, the kind that's already been burned in and cooled. Not a prank, not a joke. He didn't answer me, just rang me up fast, fingers fumbling the buttons, then slid a folded receipt across the counter. "You dropped this," he muttered, even though we both knew I hadn't. His voice sounded like he'd said these lines before, like he'd rehearsed them on other people. I took it because what else was I going to do? My heart hammered so loud it made my ears feel full. I wanted to push to say, if this is real, call the cops, lock the doors, something. But he was already looking past me again, at my car, at the darkness beyond it. It felt like the whole building held its breath with him. Outside, air hit colder. I opened the receipt with stiff fingers. Inside it, in shaky blue pen, they grabbed doors at the sign. 2 girls missing. I swear I felt my pulse drop out of my body. It was such a small piece of paper for something that heavy. I looked back through the glass. He pretended to face away, but his eyes were on me in the reflection, waiting to see what I did. I couldn't read anything on his face except this tired, ugly guilt. I walked out like nothing was wrong, legs rubbery. The minivan's sliding door cracked open 3 inches. Just a sliver. I couldn't see inside, just dark in the edge of seat. Someone shifted. I heard a man laugh softly, low and casual, like he just scrolled past something funny. That sound made every hair on my body stand up. Nobody laughs like that in the dark at a stranger's only gas station unless they're too comfortable. I forced myself not to look directly at it. I could feel their eyes on me, cataloging every step. The pump clicked off behind me. I'd left it running. I finished pumping as fast as I could without actually sprinting, trying to look like a normal, tired driver, not free meat. keys dug into my palm. I got in, locked everything, checked the back seat like in the movies, even though I'd just seen it empty. Hand shook so bad I almost dropped the keys. I told myself, just get to the main road, get to other cars, cameras, lights. I pulled out slow, trying not to fishtail gravel. In my rear view, the van woke up. It rolled forward smooth, no hesitation, and slotted in behind me. Close. Too close for this empty stretch. No signal out there, no other cars, just their grill in my mirror. I kept glancing at the phone like bars would magically appear, like help would drop out of the sky. Nothing. Just no service mocking me. My brain split into two voices. One said I was paranoid, that they were just leaving in the same direction. The other said the note existed for a reason, and I should start listening if I wanted to live. The stop sign came up fast, that flat red circle on a metal pole at a useless crossroads. My foot lifted, ready to tap the brake out of habit. 30 years of training hardwired into my leg. You stop. You always stop. You don't want a ticket. You don't want to be that idiot. The note flashed in my mind. They grabbed doors at the sign. I saw hands yanking open a handle the second a car slowed, bodies spilling out of that van, a long arm reaching. My chest clenched. Instead, I punched the gas and blew straight through. The car lurched, tires hopping the little lip where the asphalt changed. I expected the van to fall back, like maybe I'd misread everything. It didn't. It shot forward too, right on my ass. In the mirror, I saw the sliding door rolled all the way open now. A shape leaned out, bracing against the frame. In his hand, something long pointed my way, catching one shred of my taillight. A hook? A crowbar? A damn fishing gaff? I'll never know. I didn't give myself time to focus. I gripped the wheel until my knuckles hurt. If they got close enough, all they had to do was snag my door handle, drag it, maybe crack the glass. One good hit, and I'd spin out into a field and vanish. Nobody would hear. Nobody would know. My brain kept playing that. Two girls, same road, same sign. The next intersection had cameras and traffic. I knew it in a fuzzy way from glancing at the map earlier, some bigger road with truck stops. I aimed for it like it was the only real thing left in the world. Habitat for humans. Witnesses. I pushed the speedometer higher than I should have. Every bump felt like it might flip the car. They stayed with me, never passing, never dropping. Just there, filling my mirror. Once, something flashed from the open door, a quick movement like they tested distance. I refused to meet their eyes. I just stared at the thin line of road in front of me and kept my foot down. When the overhead lights of the big intersection finally came into view, I could have cried. The road widened, shoulders appeared, signs, the whole bit. As soon as the first camera pole stood up on the side of the road, the van peeled off onto a dirt road just before the lights, like someone jerked a cord. No signal, no blinker, just a clean, practice turned into nothing. 1 second they were there with the door open, the next there was only open lane behind me. I drove through the intersection even though I had the green, half expecting them to change their mind and roar back out. They didn't. My hands left sweat prints on the wheel. I pulled into a crowded place and sat there, shaking, while people in sweatpants and flip-flops walked in and out like the world was normal. I almost called the police. I didn't even know how to start that sentence. I told myself later I overreacted. That was just weird timing, a messed up joke, some local bullshit. I tried to believe it right up until I couldn't anymore. I went back weeks later in daylight. Station was boarded up. Faded flyer on the pole by that same stop sign. 2 missing girls. Grainy selfies. I recognized the background in one. Same humming soda fridge. Same wall of lottery tickets. The bathroom key was a chunk of wood with a bent metal tag, the kind that tells you nobody's replaced it since the 80s. The clerk slid it over without a word and went back to his phone. Outside door, around the side, single stall. Of course. I'd already pushed my luck on that drive, skipping decent places because I didn't want to stop, telling myself I'd wait for a nicer station, something with bright lights and cameras. Then the tank dropped near empty, my bladder started to hurt, and this sad little place popped up like a punchline. One buzzing sign, mostly dead, one guy inside who looked like he'd been bored since birth. I don't know why, but the second my hand touched that sticky chunk of wood, my gut clenched. The hallway smelled like piss and bleach that lost the fight years ago. Damp concrete, old mop water, the kind of smell that says nobody's really in charge here. I shoved the door open with my shoulder, did that quick paranoid scan I always do now, corners, ceiling behind the toilet. I even kicked the trash, can just hear it rattle. Empty echo, nothing moving, nothing obvious. Empty except for a filthy backpack under the sink. It sat there a little too neatly, not dropped, not forgotten. No logo, no tags, just that stained gray color everything turns after years of grime. It wasn't covered in dust. Someone had put it there on purpose recently. I told myself to mind my business, piss leave, but it bugged me. There was nothing else in that room that didn't belong. Just that bag like a secret. I should have left right then. Instead, I held it with my shoe and nudged it. Something clinked inside, metal on glass. Heavy, solid. Not coins, not keys. That sound you hear in toolboxes or trunks in crime shows. My throat tightened. I knew I shouldn't, but my hand moved anyway. Curiosity or some messed up instinct that wanted to see what my brain already suspected. When I unzipped it, I saw the knife first. Serrated dark stains in the grooves. Not shiny kitchen steak knife clean. The edge looked used, not polished. The handle had that worn, greasy look that says it's been in a palm for hours. Then the roll of duct tape. Thick silver, not brand new, chunks missing from the edge. Then the zip ties. A whole bundle of them, wide and strong, the kind you could cinch around a wrist and never pull off. My throat went dry. Someone had stashed a kit here. Not for camping, for people. I stood there over the sink with the bag, open, and felt every nerve in my body wake up at once. It was like the room tilted. I tried to invent normal explanations, maybe a mechanic, maybe some repair guy, but it didn't stand up. Who hides their tools in a gas station bathroom under the sink? Who needs duct tape, a serrated knife, and a pile of zip ties all together like that? My bladder completely forgot why we were here. My hand shook. I couldn't even hear the fluorescent light anymore, just my pulse in my ears. And then the door handle rattled. Hard. The whole panel jumped. Not a polite, hey, anyone in there? Tap. It felt like the person on the other side already expected resistance. I kicked the pack away, heart jumping into my throat. I froze, listening. The metal clicked again like someone testing the lock, the frame, the strength of the screws. Voice on the other side, low, impatient. You done in there? Just a guy's voice, but it slid under my skin in the worst way. Calm, pushy. The way someone talks when they think they own the next few minutes. Something in the tone said he already knew what was inside. I lied, said it was occupied, asked him to give me a minute. My voice came out too high, too fast, and I hated that he heard it. The handle stopped, but he didn't walk away. I could feel his weight still there. He put his shoulder into it once, testing the hinge, the lock, me. Don't take too long. I left something in there earlier. My whole body went cold. There it was. Confirmation. Not some random forgotten bag. Not a cleaning kit. His. My brain raced. If I left, he'd see I'd open the bag. If I stayed, I was stuck in a box with one exit and his fucking hobby kit. Two options, both shit. There was this quick, nasty argument in my head. One side said I was paranoid, that I'd watched too many documentaries, that if I made a scene, I'd look insane. The other side pointed at that knife, at those ties, at that tone in his voice, and screamed that people die because they talk themselves out of their own fear. Fear won for once, and I'm glad it did. I grabbed the knife, wiped the handle on my jeans like that somehow helped, and shoved it deep into the tank behind the toilet. The porcelain lid almost slipped, my fingers scraped, water splashed up, but the blade disappeared into the murk with a dull clunk. Tape and zip ties went into the trash under soggy paper, and those blue toilet seat covers nobody uses. I buried them, hands moving fast, sweat sliding down my back, even in that cold little room. I washed my hands just to stall, heart hammering, trying to slow my breathing. The mirror showed a pale, wide-eyed idiot who just stepped into something he couldn't fully back out of. I forced my face flat, bored, like I'd just taken a normal piss. When I opened the door, he stood way too close. I had to turn sideways to squeeze past. Mid-40s, ball cap, work boots, that generic workman look. Average height, average build, the kind of guy you'd never notice twice. But his eyes were wrong. Cold, pale, focused. They flicked past my face immediately and went straight to the floor, to the sink, to the space under it. He saw the strap of the backpack I'd kicked out of place. I saw him see it. His jaw moved once, like he was chewing down a reaction. He forced a smile that never reached his eyes. It looked like something he'd practiced in a mirror. I handed him the key and said the toilet was clogged. I tried to sound annoyed, like he was the one who had to deal with it. For half a second, his face tightened. Not like a normal, ugh, that's gross reaction. More like someone recalculating. I want to be clear about that. It wasn't embarrassment. It was strategy. He looked at my hands, my jeans, back toward the bathroom again. I could practically hear the gears grinding in his skull. What did I see? What could I reach? What was missing? He didn't say a word. He just took the key, brushed my shoulder on the way in, and shut the door behind him a little too carefully. I walked fast back to my car, every step feeling like it might be my last normal one. I didn't run. I didn't want to look like prey, but my legs burned to get out of there. The parking lot felt too open and too empty at the same time. Only my car at the pump, the clerk still inside under that sick white light, scrolling on his phone, oblivious. I unlocked my car, slid in, locked the doors immediately, and gripped the wheel while my heart tried to punch through my ribs. As I pulled out, he came around the corner empty-handed, no backpack, scanning plates. He hadn't been in there long enough to deal with a clogged toilet situation. He'd checked, seen the knife gone, found the tape and zip ties buried, realized his little surprise stash was compromised, and decided on his next move. Now he was outside, walking slow like he had all the time in the world, looking at every car, every tag, every direction the highway ran. In my mirror, I watched him look down the highway, both ways, then settle on my taillights. He reached into his pocket and lifted a phone to his ear. Smiled. That smile still makes my skin crawl. It didn't look angry or shocked. It looked like someone who just shifted a plan B. Like he'd lost a tool, but not the urge. I drove way over the limit for a while, glancing in the mirror so much I probably missed half the road in front of me. Every truck behind me looked like it could be him. I took random exits, looped back, tried to lose a tail that might not even have been there. I thought about turning around and going to the nearest police station, but what did I really have? A nasty bag I'd already disturbed, a creepy guy with a common face, no plate, no name, no real proof of anything except my own fear. So I did nothing. I just drove home and tried to act like I'd left it behind. I checked local news for a while though. Body found, rest stop incident, unidentified woman, all the usual nightmare phrases. Nothing tied cleanly to that night. That station. Maybe I screwed up his plans and he gave up. Maybe he dumped the whole kit in a ditch and went back to watching TV like a normal middle-aged man. Or maybe I just pushed his timeline, made him drive farther, made him pick someone else who didn't open the bag, who didn't listen to their gut, who didn't move the knife. I'll never know, and that's the part that eats at me. I've never pissed at a gas station alone since. And I still think about that kit and how I probably ruined someone's plans for that night and maybe made them pick a softer target down the road.